All right, so we're going to talk about the MrBeast and Logan Paul monetization model to emulate. So I'll set the stage real quick for this one. Most people, when they think about MrBeast and Logan Paul, they think about Beast Burger, that's MrBeast burger chain. There's Feastables, which is like his chocolate bars. Logan Paul has Prime. He has, I think that's the main thing that he has going on. Obviously, they both monetize through ads as well. And so we want to talk about, how
Logan Paul also makes quite a bit of money monetizing his own brand, like wrestling for WE, I think it's called.
Yeah,
WWF.
WWE. Yep. He's paid as a wrestler there. So they're continuing, and I think Logan's going to start fighting again or something. So both of them are really good at building audience. That's one piece of it. The one thing I wanted to set the stage for here, and we could go back and forth, is that most people think back in the day, the argument is, oh, you should build the business first. Now these two are flipping it around where they're going with audience first, and then the audience is then leading into the monetization models, and they can pick the monetization models. And Neil, actually, if you think about you too, or if you think, let's look at Gary Vee too, you led with the audience first, right? And then you tried different monetization models with courses. You tried it with agency. You tried it with different things. You even gave away free one-on-one calls. But at the end of the day, the monetization model that works for you is agency. So my point of saying all this is that you might lead with the audience first, and then you pick the monetization model that works.
Yeah. I actually think the better approach is you build your brand. I think that's a new way, and then you monetize it. Whether it's corporate or personal, you build the brand, you build the audience, and then you figure out how to monetize it. There's so many people who have done this. Celebrities are a countless example. The Kardashians are a countless example. Beats by Dre, another example. They had the audience. Dr. Dre was really well known for audio and music, and then from there, the headphone company. And I watched the documentary on it. This is a long time ago. And I remember people were pitching like sneaker companies and other stuff. And that's not related to me. Let me focus on what I know and what I'm known for. And that model works out extremely well. You just have to focus on, all right, can I end up focusing on creating a brand? Can I create enough unique content out there and push it out where I can build up the audience I need to monetize it? Because if you're in B2C, hundreds and thousands of followers isn't enough. You need millions. And if you're in B2B, you need hundreds and thousands of very relevant followers for it to work.
Yeah, so here's what I'll say too. Kevin Kelly, he's the guy that created Wired, and he's known as, I think at one point he's known as the most interesting man, not the Dos Equis guy, but point being, he talked about you need 1,000 true fans, right? And so we're not saying that you need to have an audience of 100,000, that'd be great, or millions like these two, right? Let's take a look at our friend Alex and Layla Hormozi. And so for them, they've created this business brand, and that has they've been able to leverage that brand to do business deals, right? Like they want to basically buy into companies. And oftentimes the brand creates this halo effect where you're able to get deals done at better terms. It's, for example, I do have agencies that reach out to me, and some people will they want to partner up, and some people will straight up say, hey, we're doing a couple $1 million right now, and we'll give you 25%. And then I can figure out how to negotiate the deal where it's even better for both sides. But that's the power of the brand at the end of the day. And if you're out there, like for us, it's not like Neil and I are very showy. We're not going to go crash a plane or something like that. But we're just going to share our knowledge around operating a business, and like we enjoy doing it. And so that's how our brands are. You're going to be able to get better deals, right? At the end of the day, like we talked about MrBeast, we talked about Logan Paul, but even look at Jake Paul. Jake Paul, I met the guy, super humble guy, right? And he's carving his own path with boxing, but he's also doing all these other business deals. He's got a VC firm with my friend Jeffrey, right? And he created a new like betting company called Better. And so they're just doing a lot of interesting things. But I think what you're going to see is people are going to learn to build their audiences, and then they're going to learn business. And I think because there's such a wealth of information available online now, that it's super easy for people to learn the business aspects, or I should say super simple. It's not easy, it's simple. All right, so we're going to talk about 10x marketing experiments that we are running right now. And so we're going to try to do this every quarter or so, and I'm going to kick it off. One thing that we're doing with this podcast at this very moment is we're leveraging the transcripts that come from the podcast tool that we're using, and then we're throwing it into Chat GPT to ask Chat GPT to summarize the article or the podcast into a blog post. Then we dump it into a duplicate content checker. Usually it passes like 99.9%. So it's non-duplicate. And then we have our human editor that will go in, add links, add statistics, cite other things, also expand the article itself. And we are basically able to reduce the amount of time it takes to edit an article by 80%. And so our costs come down a lot. And we're now going to be able to pump out a lot of content around the hard work that we do around this podcast.
One thing that we're doing is we're using Midjourney. Midjourney is a way where you can create images pretty much on anything. You can be like, create an image of dove that's mechanical, black background, and inside the dove, also integrate the face of Neil Patel or integrate a human's face or whatever you want to end up doing. You can get super specific and it can end up helping you create content. If you look at the average internet minute, like where people are spending majority of their time, according to Domo, it's on social sites. It's actually not on search. Social sites love content that's visual, whether it's images or video. And if you can create them at mass scale and start testing, which you can end up doing with Midjourney, you can end up creating a lot of content just much faster and it doesn't cost anything.
Cool. Number 3 from my side would be podcast collaboration. So right now we're doing a collaboration with My First Million, also Marketing Against the Grain, and I believe another podcast. So 3 podcasts from the HubSpot Podcast Network. Shout out to Jonathan Barshop, who's been helping us with this. And basically, My First Million will do a read. And by the way, it's a great podcast. You all should check it out. They'll do a read promoting us, and then we would do a read promoting them. And then basically we get more reach on each other's podcasts. And hopefully the people that listen end up staying longer. The other thing I'll say too is, I was just talking to Neil yesterday, where it looks like they get onto the LinkedIn podcast network too. So we're just trying to get more reach ultimately. And the best way to promote is natively on any channel. So if you're trying to promote an email list, go promote on other newsletters. If you're trying to promote a podcast, go promote on other podcasts. But also if the podcasts have a YouTube channel too, hit that YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, number 4 on my end is everyone thinks about Chat GPT and OpenAI as a way to create content, which is great, and we do as well. But the big thing that we're trying to use OpenAI right now is how can you end up having, their artificial intelligence analyze analytics for you and in real time give you insights. Because the biggest problem that we see in marketing isn't actually content creation. People already know how to do that. It's people aren't really looking at the data, analyzing and making informed decisions on it. So if in real time you can figure out what's working, what's not, and you can start making changes, you should have a much higher ROI with your marketing efforts.
Yep. Number 5 from my side is, I guess we by default all made this like a 7-part series, but a 7-step series, but free community funnel. And so what I mean by that is, for example, I have a free agency community right now. You can hit me on Instagram if you want to join it, but it's invite only, but you can join for free. And we're using School. So School is Sam Ovens. It's his community kind of SaaS product. It's like a Facebook group, but you also get emails as well. And we just have agency owners kind of sharing things that they know and they don't know. I've seen some communities in there. One person shared numbers. He's got a couple thousand people in there, and he basically uses that funnel into his business. I'm just trying to make a nice agency community right now. So I'm doing that for free, and I'm just sharing what I learned. So sometimes I'll share some videos. Other people will share stuff too. And it's been a nice little community so far.
Number 6, Ryan Reynolds ended up selling Mint Mobile. He was part of the company. He wasn't the founder, for $1.3 billion. I'm assuming that includes earnout as well. And that company really blew up once he started partnering with Ryan Reynolds. You also have Kylie Cosmetics, which did well because of Kylie Jenner. And the list goes on and on. Rock has an energy drink. If you look at the Pauls, or Logan Paul and what is it?
KSI.
Yeah, KSI. They have an energy drink called Prime. What we're experimenting with right now is how much more revenue can you end up driving, whether it's B2B or B2C, having an influencer or celebrity partner being part of the company. What I mean by that is most people look at influencers as, hey, let me just promote your product. I get paid one and done, or even 6 or 7 or 8 times that I'm done. But the passion isn't there. The carryover isn't there. They're not integrated within all the marketing collateral. On the flip side, if they're part of the business, how can would you end up generating a much better return and giving them equity versus them just getting paid to promote here and there?
Yeah, you know what's interesting? So the last Miami Mastermind, which is MrBeast manager, he was supposed to speak. He'll probably come to the Beverly Hills event. So you can actually just click on my link in my Instagram if you want to learn more about that. But I digress. Point being is that he actually started, I think he raised money from TPG, I believe. And then he's finding a bunch of influencers to partner up with e-commerce businesses to basically inject the influencer distribution. And we'll see how that goes. I'm actually very interested to see how that goes. And I think that's a model that many people emulate if it goes well. But number 7, last but not least from my side, is we're leveraging Chat GPT to summarize the latest news in marketing each week. So we have a channel in our Single Grain, the ad agency I have, Single Grain. We basically share the top 5 things that they can expand it on, top 5 news of the week for marketing. And on Monday, it actually will summarize the top the top kind of a podcast from marketing school. And so my team will constantly get barraged with new information on what's actually happening in industry. So that way people can't say, oh, I don't know where to stay updated or whatever. We're just trying to figure out creative ways there. And eventually we want to plug it in. And I think to Neil's point, be able to pull data on what funnels are working well, what ads are working well, what should we double down on, what should we triple down on, and that's going to be exciting. All right, so we're going to talk about how to address negative reviews the right way. So some context here. The last feelings have been a little hurt, but it's okay. We've got some recent reviews on marketing school. There's 1 5-star, and the last maybe 3 before that were like 1 star. So I don't know if it's the same person, but someone's been hitting us. They're like tech bro-y. They worship Elon Musk, whatever it is. So we're trying to address it, and we want to talk about in this episode how you can address negative reviews, not just for podcasts, but for any channel that you're on, right? Could be for your business, negative reviews, right? Could be for your YouTube channel, whatever it is. But we thought this would be an interesting topic.
Look, you're going to get negative comments. You're going to get negative reviews. The question is just, when are you going to get them? For Eric and I, we try not to take them to heart. We actually like them, not from a negative standpoint, but from a standpoint of it teaches us how to improve. What's frustrating is when you try to make those changes and you still get negative reviews, it can be a little bit irritating because you're like, man, I thought I was fixing it. And then that people don't really think that you're doing what they want and you keep getting negative reviews. Overall, just keep pushing through. Look at the negative reviews. Don't worry about responding to them. More so, first, you need to focus on what you can do to fix it. So focus on fixing it. Second, then worry about responding. Most people, and I'm not saying you should never respond, most people with negative reviews, what they do is they try to focus on the response. What can I do to make that person happy? They were negative because of experience or your product or your service or whatever it may be. Yes, responding is good, but the reason it's negative is because they weren't happy with the service or the product, and you should be focusing on fixing that so you don't keep getting more negative reviews in the future. And that's a big mistake that companies make. They focus too much on the response instead of taking action and fixing the root problem.
Here's what I'll say. When you look at negative reviews, you want to look for signal versus noise. So a lot of people are just going to say a bunch of stuff. Sometimes there's just something going on in their lives, and that's fine, right? It's, oh my God. Sometimes you get a comment, oh, you're so ugly or whatever. It's just, that's something that you can do, right? But there is going to be noise. For every maybe 10 negative comments, maybe there's 1 bit of signal. And if you start to see the same comment over and over, you guys are saying the same things over and over, or you guys are sounding really bro-y or whatever, that's how we're addressing it. Is more so we're doing these reaction longer form clips now. Yesterday we spent about 30 to 35 minutes and we're just reacting to the news and talking about how people can think about that from a marketing and a business perspective. And we're going to see how the feedback is for that. And then people might say, oh, I like this part. I hated this part over here. And I'm going to give that feedback. Neil and I are going to talk about it and we're going to iterate on it. We don't take that personally. What I really want to show both of you is that this is not necessarily for everyone, right? So this is me over here on the Principles U test. This is a Ray Dalio, Adam Grant personality test. Highly recommend everyone takes it. It's free. We're not getting paid to say this. I'm receptive to criticism, 99%, right? Which means if you give me criticism, I take it as a compliment. Right? Let's not go into why that is. That's just how it is. Now, if you look at Neil, he's 93% receptive to criticism. So anytime he said something to me, I don't think I've ever gotten offended. And when I've said something to him, he's never gotten offended too. It's just, oh, okay, maybe there's something there. Maybe there isn't, right? But the key thing is to also understand how you are and who it is that you're working with. If you have another partner that you're working with on your business or your YouTube channel, some people are really not receptive to criticism and you have to understand how they work. So this is another wrinkle that I wanted to add in here. Neil?
Yeah, look at it as a way to grow. It's like in marketing, if you want more traffic, you want more revenue, you want more sales, you want more conversions, the best way to get that is by talking to people. Just like how you would run surveys, think of those negative reviews as feedback from a survey. If you can focus on improving it and solving those problems, you'll notice that your revenue and your marketing will be much more efficient.
Yep. So look, that's all we got to say. And please give us feedback, by the way. Please give us criticism on the reaction videos that we're going to be doing on a weekly basis. All right, so we're going to talk about 7 marketing tools for Q2 of 2023 because these episodes always hit. So I'll start with number 1. Number 1 is Riverside.fm. So we've been raving about Riverside.fm. Sadly, I passed on the chance to invest because I'm an idiot. But it is a great podcast tool. So what I mean by that is the quality. Neil and I have never seen such high quality where we look so much better on camera. It's easier for my team to come in and just edit stuff. It's easier to export stuff into Shorts. It's easier to export stuff into other tools that we use too, which I'll talk about in a little bit as well. It just makes the podcast experience so much better. And it actually automatically exports a transcript using AI. And then we just dump that into Chat GPT and have it summarize for us. So it's giving us a lot of efficiency and a lot of time savings. And we actually regret not coming to Riverside earlier because we could have started using it like 1 or 2 years ago.
Number 2, crisp. When you're creating content, whether it's video or audio content, there's always background noise and you got to pay for editors. It's so much easier to just use crisp. It blocks off the background noise, like my kids watching TV or they're making noise, and it won't end up showing up in the audio, and you will have much better social content that you end up creating, and it's much easier because then you don't need to pay for an editor.
Yep. Number 3, the other tool I wanted to talk about was Descript. So we combine Riverside with Descript, and Descript, what it does is it will take the videos or the podcasts that you do and it'll automatically remove the filler words. So yesterday we did a reaction video and it was about 35 minutes or so, and we had about 350 stop words. And so we removed all of those, and it also syncs them up. Point being, Descript will help professionalize a lot of the content that you're putting out, and our editors love using it.
Yeah. Number 4, mid-journey. If you look at where people are spending majority of their time and attention when it comes to digital, it's going to be social. And with social, you can do extremely well if you're just creating enough social media content. With Midjourney, what they'll end up doing is they'll help you end up creating a lot of your visuals. And we've actually taken a lot of the images they created, run them through Google image search, doing a reverse lookup, and they're unique. Doesn't mean that they will be 100% of the time, or doesn't mean that they're not breaking copyright laws. Let an attorney figure that one out. But what we found is you can tell them anything like, show me a lion in space, black background, in a spacesuit that has the logo NASA on it in 8K, and give me like 5 variations of it, and they'll send it to you. And then you can pick and slice and dice, and you'd be like, oh, make the suit pink in color instead of white. And you'll just see tons and tons of different variations of it. And it's really cool, which will just help you create a lot of social content. You can do it with images of humans, animals, whatever it may be, literally anything that you can think of, and start integrating it within your content that you're using for social media.
What are we on? Number 5? Number 5.
Number 5, yeah.
Yeah. So number 5 is, we've talked about Chat GPT quite a bit, and I think it's going to continue to be a hot topic as we start to integrate more business or more practical business use cases. So Chat GPT just recently came out with a Zapier integration, and Zapier basically allows you to hook in with 5,000 different apps. So it can hook in with your analytics, it can hook in with your email, it can hook in with your Slack, and you can basically start to command stuff, ChatGPT, to just do stuff in there. So you can say, hey, take the summary of this transcript of this call with our client, and then summarize it and send it to our client services chat room in Slack. That's one example you can go about doing, right? You can do it for sales, marketing, you can really do it for anything. And so I think that's going to be really interesting. We're going to see a lot of interesting use cases there. But I think long-term, ChatGPT is just going to do it themselves, and they're just going to be able to tie in with other apps on their own, and they're just going to bypass Zapier. I think this is their first go-around to see how it actually goes, and I think it's going to go really well for them. Neil?
I hope it goes really well with them. Another tool to check out, number 6, Social Pilot. So right now with social media, you're going to have team members eventually. If you're going to end up creating a lot of content, even if you don't have team members, there's a lot of systems and processes. Social Pilot will help you automate a lot of that, from the views to the replies to engaging with the profiles in real time and getting data. You can assign different roles to team members and access levels. The reason I like it isn't because of things like bulk scheduling. A lot of tools can end up doing that kind of stuff. It's more so you need to engage with social, and most people don't, but there's a lot of social tools out there like Social Pilot that end up pulling in the data, and then you can end up responding and interacting with people. If you don't interact with people on social, you'll find that it won't convert for you as well in marketing. And we're seeing that to be more and more true over time. So make sure you engage. You can pick any social tool that really helps you manage the responses and the comments, but that's the key. You need to actually take the time, look at all of them, and respond, or have someone on your team do it.
Yep. Number 7, last but not least, is Chartable. So we're actually using Chartable right now. It is a podcast analytics tool. It's not only a podcast analytics tool, but it allows you to run collaboration. So we're running a collaboration with My First Million right now, and we've hooked both of our podcasts together so we can see how effective that promotion is, and they can do the same thing, so vice versa. The other thing too is once we hooked in our trackable prefix for our podcast, we can actually see the retention. So we can see how well a certain episode does. So for example, for the Marketing School podcast, we did a reaction video, and that reaction video, in terms of the retention standpoint, was much stronger than other episodes, right? Sometimes other episodes, they'll listen to one episode and then only 10% will come back, and then 5% will come back after that. But what we saw with that episode was after you listen to that one, about 78 or 80% of people came back to the next episode, and then 58% came back to the next episode. And so the retention curve was a lot higher. So you get data like that, and so you can figure out how to iterate better. And so that is it for today. Please don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and hit us on YouTube. And that is it.